Hey, welcome to the Typewriter video series, everybody. This is Joe, and you're thinking, what? He's not in his little studio office holed up? No, I'm outside. I'm actually at the scene of the crime. A couple nights ago, the last Sunday night, Kevin Kittle and I got together for an impromptu typewriter get-together. Yes, we got together for an impromptu typewriter get-together. That's exactly right. It had rained earlier that evening, but the rain subsided. We had a beautiful evening. Pre-autumn weather, had a table out here. So Kevin brought over his Olympia SM9 from the 1960s and an Olivetti Lettera 22, while I brought out some of my Japanese portables. You might remember that I had an older, newer Silver Seiko Royal Mercury, and I recently got another Royal Mercury that's actually a couple years older than that. And I also have a couple brother machines, a Webster XL 747 and a Charger 11. So I brought out those machines last night, and Kevin doesn't own any Japanese portable machines at all in his collection, and he never really had an opportunity to try them out. So he tried out the Charger 11, the Webster brother-made Webster, and the Silver Seiko Royal Mercury, and he had a favorable impression of all of them. And also, I had done a little bit of experimentation to the Webster brother and the Silver Seiko. I disconnected the spring that attaches the touch adjustment to the universal bar, and it gives me a better touch on the typewriter, but Kevin has his own opinion about it. So that was very interesting, how everybody has their own sense of touch about machines. There is no one typewriter that works best for everybody. Okay, so Kevin, give me your opinion of this brother-made Webster XL 747. First of all, it's not as big as a 747. Let's get that out of the way first.
No, but it is as cool a styling as the 747.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, it's got indentations on the ribbon cover here that are just...
This is the equivalent to the upper deck lounge.
Yeah, really, it's very nicely... That's a really nice style. And then it's all metal, you know, it's got a really nice thing.
So we were comparing the Silver Seiko Royal Mercury with the brother XL 747, and you had a difference of opinion in how it felt from me.
Yeah, what I've noticed with it is that I was commenting in what I'm writing here, is that the Webster with the brother Webster with the spring attached to the universal bar, which gives it just a little bit heavier of a touch than with it disattached. Yes, it's a little heavier of a touch, but for my writing technique, typing technique, which is I touch type, but I've got a fairly heavy impact, it felt really good. I could tell that it was heavier than some of the other typewriters that I have, and it's definitely heavier than the Mercury typewriter with the spring attached, which has a very light feel. And then now Joe had disconnected the spring on this Webster typewriter too, which gives it a bit of a lighter feel than it had. Not as light as the Mercury.
No, yeah.
But both of them with that spring unattached to the universal bar makes the kind of a little bit, I call it a backbite, where you hit the bottom of the key and you can feel it kind of biting back at you. That's why I call it a backbite.
Interesting.
And where it, because I guess with my heavier touch, when you have the spring attached, it absorbs a little more of my energy going into the typing, and so I don't get that biting back.
Interesting.
The balance I noticed was a little bit off now. This is a carriage shift typewriter, where you're actually lifting the whole carriage rather than just pivoting the carriage on some typewriters. And with it spring attached, I felt that the balance of the keys and the carriage lift mechanism were pretty well balanced. Now they're a little bit out of balance, not overly so, but just a little bit out of balance. So my personal preference would be to leave the spring attached to the universal bar if I own this typewriter.
Interesting.
And not having tried the Mercury with the spring attached, I'm not sure how I would feel about that. I think the Mercury overall would probably be a little bit of a lighter touch.
Right.
But I have noticed that just writing with this Webster, for me, I want to write with it more. The Mercury, I felt okay on it, and it felt just like a regular good typewriter. But for some reason, the Webster, I feel like I can type more, and then I keep on going. When the spring was attached, I felt like I made fewer mistakes. Whereas when it's a little bit too light for me, or this little backbite, it reminds me of my Smith Corona Electric, which has a very light touch because it's electric operated, and I feel a little hesitance, and I think I make more typos that way, more mistakes.
Interesting.
So that too light of a touch for me, even though I do prefer a lighter touch, or at least I think I do, I end up making more mistakes. And so it's just, I think it's a difference in typing technique.
In the hands.
In the hands, where it is. It's all in the hands of the touch.
Well, now Kevin is typing on the Brother Charger 11, which does not have a touch adjustment. And I can tell by how long he types on the machine before he pauses as to whether he likes it or not. And I think he likes it. This is my guess.
Yes, actually I do like this. It has a lighter touch than the Brother Webster typewriter, even with the touch adjustment spring disconnected. And it doesn't have the backbite feel, so it doesn't feel like it's fighting back at me a little bit with that lighter touch. That being considered, though, I think maybe just my typing technique, I feel like I could make a few more mistakes with this, but maybe not as many with the overly light touch that I was getting the impression from the Webster or the Royal Mercury. The sound of the typewriter is a little tinny.
Yes.
So it feels like just the sound gives you that impression that, oh, okay, it's not as sturdy or something like that. But it probably is just as sturdy because it seems like a nice solid typewriter, and maybe a little sound deadening attached to that would get rid of that tinniness sound.
Now, you made an observation that you thought it was a smaller typewriter.
It feels smaller. It's lower than the Webster XL747.
Maybe because the ribbon cover on the Webster maybe slopes up more in the front or something.
It is. It's a little bit things like that. And then it doesn't have the feet at the bottom, or at least as big a feet as the Webster.
Right.
So it feels like it's even more of an ultra portable than the Webster XL47. Both are very nice typewriters, and I have to admit that I've not really delved much into the later typewriters that these eras that these come from. But they're really nice typewriters. Both of them are nice. The imprint could be just because of the ribbon of the Brother Charger is a little bit darker, and the type alignment is really good. It's a very nice feeling typewriter. Doesn't have a #1 key, as some people criticize that. But I could see writing stories on either one of these typewriters.
You think the Great American Novel could be written on this typewriter?
Well, yeah, if you don't mind writing on a Japanese typewriter, which some people would really think that's horrible, I don't think it makes any difference. But yes, the Great American Novel could be written on these, and I'm surprised. I would be surprised to learn if one hasn't been already written. Now, whether I can write one on there, that has nothing to do with the typewriter.
Okay, so what is your overall impression of the 3 Japanese typewriters here?
Overall, I am very impressed. I hadn't owned, and I still don't own a Japanese typewriter of this era, or any era for that matter, and I hadn't really even thought about going to that type of a typewriter, just never crossed my mind. And I always kind of thought at some point in the 70s that all typewriters were lousy at that point, but they weren't. These are fantastic. They're as good, I think, as the Smith Coronas of the 50s going into the early 60s, of the Olympias in the 60s, the Royals in the early 60s and stuff like that. I think they're just as good. And it's impressive. I hadn't noticed that before. I didn't know that. And it makes me want to think about, maybe I should get one of these. But when you already have 25 typewriters, I don't know if I need any more.
Oh, sure you do.
Oh, I do. Yeah, exactly. You know, you can never have, too much water on a nuclear reactor.
That's right. Now, before we close, we have to mention our lamp, our typing lamp. Tell me about the typing lamp.
The typing lamp. This is fortunately from Costco, so the price is very reasonable. And it's an LED light, which of course is really cool.
So show us the features.
Its features on it. Well, of course, it's adjustable in the brightness. but also it's adjustable in the color. And I hit the fan actually.
There's a fan on it. Oh,
So
blue.
there's your basically your cool white color. There's kind of your daylight color, so it's like it has all the full spectrum. And then here's your more of your incandescent light
Nice.
that we like, and then you can bring it down in
different intensities.
And then in the middle it has this very cool fan.
Like almost like a Dyson fan.
Yeah, and it's just you have no moving parts. You can put your finger through it, and you don't get your finger cut through it. And it's got a nice green LED light that shows that
and
it's
it shows
on.
how the gooseneck flexes on the top.
And then the gooseneck, so we've had this to adjust that, and it's flexible.
Yeah.
And it's pretty stable. It could probably use a little more weight in the base to be a little more stable.
Right.
On the back, it has the new modern features that you can put in a USB cable to charge up your phone or something like that, which is handy. So it's it's an impressive desk lamp.
Yeah, I like it. I'm gonna have to get me one of these.
Yeah, and so we've been having it here on this outdoor type get together. We've been having it at the lower of the setting, not maybe the
And the
lowest.
amber color to keep the bugs.
So there's the lowest setting.
To keep the
but-
bugs away, right?
Yeah, and the amber covers will hopefully keep the bugs away. And I think that's fairly effective. And the fan's been on. We've had it probably in the medium speed of the fan, which has been good. About
Kind of sucks the cigar smoke
Cigar
into it
smoke.
and back out.
away from us, so we aren't having a whole lot of that. And so it's a really nice light. And here we've had it. That's the only light we've had on the whole typewriting table. Here we are, a 3-foot by 6-foot table, and we have 5 typewriters on it, plus other such, and scotch, of course.
Of course.
And so it's been a
And
really nice
green
light.
chili dip.
And green chili dip.
You don't get that anywhere else but New Mexico.
Yeah, green chili dip to go with your Doritos.
It's interesting that there seems to be commonly understood notions about what are good and bad typewriters out on the internet. And a lot of those things aren't always accurate because it really depends upon your own personal preferences. And I'll give you an example of this. Kevin has a really heavy touch typing, probably stronger hands and arms than I am. I'm more delicate. And so what I like for a touch is different than what Kevin likes for a touch. So don't believe everything you hear about typewriters and what has the best touch and what doesn't. You got to kind of try them out for yourself. I think it's important to maintain a sense of community with our typewriter passion, and not only pertaining to things like social media, interacting with people that maybe you've never met, but just on the internet and different social media platforms, but also locally, and not just in like large get-togethers like type-ins, but I think it's really important to have typewriter friends, typewriter pals that you can bounce ideas off of, meet on a regular basis, and try each other's machines out. I learn every day from Kevin that we get together, and he learns from me. It's great having a typewriter buddy, and you should really cultivate one. Find that typewriter person in your area that can be a friend of yours and can help you in your passion of typewriting and writing in general. So this was a great outing we had at my house here last Sunday night, and I encourage you guys to get together with your friends who are like-minded in your love for typewriters. That's what we did. Well, until next time, you guys have yourselves a great day.